All right, Bruce, thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to join us on In Their 20s. It's really nice to see another influential person in the industry come on our show. Obviously, you have a ton of finance experience, being the former National Director of Business Valuation Services and partner for Mazars USA, and currently serving as the Senior Advisor to the practice. We saw from different sources that you had your master's in taxation, accounting, and international business. So how would you say education has allowed you to progress in your career, and what made you want to go back for these more certifications and more degrees?
Well, first of all, education is so important. And as Henry Ford once said, that the moment you stop learning, you'll get old. I think that throughout your career to grow, you have to continually to learn. Uh, and learning takes you to different directions in your career. Uh, and when I started, I was specializing in accounting and then got my CPA. And I practiced as a CPA in the tax department of national accounting firms and specialized in real estate, partnership taxation, syndication of real estate, and estate and gift tax. Uh, and it was later on that then I moved and changed to start doing litigation and business valuation.
So, Bruce, you are preaching the importance of education through certifications, going back to school, continuing to learn. We all see the importance of learning here. To pivot then, when you're hiring students to join your firm, when you have been doing that over the past numerous years with hiring, what specific traits and skills do you prefer to find in students? And which traits and skills make for the best student hires?
That's a really good question, Landon, because when you're looking at someone coming out of school, many of them, their experiences may be limited just because of age and where they're at. But so you're looking at ability. You're looking at the ability for someone to work together, the ability to learn, how have they experienced and shown their ability to absorb knowledge, professionalism, and their ability to show or have those traits of leadership. Because when you're hiring someone, you're looking at 10 years down the road, how do you see this person? And will this person have those traits and the ability to grow and succeed in the environment upon which you're working in? You mentioned about education and degrees, but learning goes beyond that. I learn every day from the younger professionals like yourself. And I find it amazing, some of the skills that you all have and what I, as someone a little older, can learn from someone that are in their 20s.
Yeah, I really do like that you bring it up that it's a two-way street, really. Everybody's looking to learn something new, whether it be, something more technical or something, every day. Some things you just might not run into until you meet somebody who that might be their whole knowledge base, and then you're like, wow, there's so much I didn't know. So I think
absolutely, and your perspective is important. So I think it's important for someone in their 20s to be able to provide their perspective, because that's part of the learning process.
Right, and even with especially the industry me and you are in, the valuation industry. Things are changing, laws are changing, a bunch of things are changing, and it might not be something that everybody's aware of. So it might be something I learned in school that you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't know that. Might be like a new methodology. I don't know. You're very knowledgeable, so you probably do know that. But yes, it does help to have some sort of other influence as well.
No, I think it's a great point, Michael, that you bring up.
Our next question is kind of about the students that are in school today. So many students in finance might not know what exactly valuation services are. What made you want to do a career in valuation services, and what may students today like about this industry?
Well, I came into this industry segment a little differently maybe than others. When I got out of school, as I mentioned earlier, I became a CPA. I then worked for national accounting firms in the tax department. I was a tax specialist when I started out, and it was probably halfway through my career that I had an opportunity to work on a litigation matter, and I liked it. And I had partners at that time that said, hey, business valuation is really developing that area. Would you like to learn? So again, I went back and took specialized training and started learning, reading about valuation. And lo and behold, valuation really tied into what I was doing. Because as a CPA, a tax specialist, we do a lot of valuation work in those areas. Understanding how businesses work is really a key in valuation. Understanding what truly creates value is important. Your prior experiences, what you do today in your 20s,
Mm-hmm.
even though you may not be doing what you're doing in your 20s today, 20 years from now, but that experience and what you learned in your 20s are the building blocks and the foundation that you will use to succeed when you're in your 40s, your 50s, and even if you're in your 60s.
And I would say, personally, going through a finance degree and recently graduated, I would say a lot of students think the ultimate career you want to go into is banking when you're in the finance program, right?
Everyone wants to be an investment banker.
Everybody wants to be an investment banker, and even I did until I found Valuation Services, which kind of met all of my kind of wants and needs. When I was a student, I was looking for something where I could dig into businesses, and that's exactly what you were saying. That's exactly what we do. We dig into businesses and see what value is really derived from across all industries, and that's what I found ultimately fascinating about valuations.
It is. It really uses a lot of experience and skills that you've learned maybe in other areas, and now valuation pulls it together. And I think the stronger uh, valuation experts are those that can understand and pick up what the driving factors of value is for that industry, the strengths, the weaknesses, uh, you know, uh, and the ability to listen to the client and understand it. These are things that are important.
This is actually a perfect transition for our next question, Bruce, because we came upon something super interesting when we were doing research on you and, wanting to figure out which way we wanted to take this interview. Because, you have a lot, a lot of certifications, a lot of experience. But what we found a few people had given you some really interesting notes on your LinkedIn. They had mentioned that you are a really good listener. A lot of times when it comes to communication, we want to focus on who can speak the loudest, who is the most experienced, who knows this, who knows that. But a lot of times people do not really point towards the importance of listening. So if you could just kind of break down how you became such a good listener and why you became such a good listener. Why is this such an important skill, not just in valuations, but across different industries to have?
Well, you bring up something that's really important, not just in your work, but in life and how you will succeed in life. There's a difference between hearing and listening. And sometimes we get rather confused about that. Hearing is a natural thing. You're born with two ears and you can hear. Listening is an art that you will learn over time. So there is a difference. Listening is being able to let the other person speak, comprehend what they're saying, have the ability to respect what they're saying, even though what they're saying may be totally different than your views or what you believe in, doesn't make it wrong. You have to respect that that's that person's view, and then understand. And if you listen carefully, you'll be able to respond better. You'll be able to actually learn something that you may not have known, uh, and uh, and be able to engage. You know, you hear the terms active listening, and uh, you know, just raising your voice doesn't get your point across. By listening, you know, you show respect to other people. Other people then want to engage because they know that you're going to listen, and their view may have a point. You know, their view has importance. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to agree or you're going to use their comment, but the fact that they have that ability to share is important. And that's how you'll build your teams. That's how I learn. As I say, every day I learn something new from people in their 20s.
No, I think that's super powerful. It seems that what you're really saying is, the greatest leaders are usually probably the last ones in the room to speak. Considering that everybody brings a unique perspective to the table, you want to hear from these different ideas, you want to hear from these different opinions, and then as a leader, you can probably then compile all this information and make a decision that will best fit the team. But in order to get there, you need to be able to listen. So really, thank you for breaking down the importance of listening.
You know, it's interesting, Landon, because it's something that I tell clients a lot, that my role as an advisor is not to tell my client what to do or not to do. I tell them that my role is to provide you with the facts, education, advice, so that you as a client can make an educated decision. And that's the same thing as what we're talking about.
Right. I think there was a lot to pull from this interview, Bruce, where we were talking about the two-way street learning between elder management and younger employees, as well as their ability to both listen to each other and kind of understand exactly what is being said, why it's being said, especially nowadays with a lot, the why is very important in conversations, because a lot of people want to know what's the purpose, why am I doing this? So I think a lot of what was said today is very helpful for people in their 20s, and it can be used in a lot of different facets, especially not even for just people in their 20s, but for people that are older and looking for different skills to still pick up.
Well, I think what you're doing here today, both Michael and Landon, is exceptional. And I think it's important for growth because we really didn't have someone doing what you're doing when I was in my 20s. And I wish that I did, because what you're doing is providing a platform for people to learn and understand as they grow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, here are things that we ought to look at that will help us going forward. And so I think both you, Michael, and Landon, I congratulate you on what you're doing here. I think it's a very positive and learning experience for all involved.
Well, Bruce, thank you so much for coming on today. A lot of great advice for people in their 20s, and I think it'll be very helpful.
Well, thank you guys. It's great. I'm proud of both of you, what you're doing, man.
Thank you, Bruce.